If you're watching this because someone once told you that you're too poor or not enough to stand next to them, then yeah, this story is for you. My name is Betty. I'm 27, I live in the US, I work in tech, and 6 months ago my own sister didn't invite me to her wedding because she was ashamed of me. And last week I refused to invite her to my event. Now I'm the one who feels guilty. And at the same time, more free than I've ever felt in my life. I grew up in a very average family. Suburbs, minivan, public school, Sunday dinners, all of that. Middle class, nothing crazy. My parents wouldn't say we were obsessed with money, but status, image? Yeah, that mattered. There were two of us. Angela, my older sister by 3 years, and me. If you looked at us as kids, you'd think we were from two different movies. Angela was the main character. Always. Blonde highlights, perfect hair, cheerleading, dance recitals, a friend group that somehow looked like it came straight from a teen drama. She was the one laughing in the photos, center frame, sparkling. I was the side character who wandered in from the math club. Glasses, braces, the kind of kid who actually liked algebra worksheets. At school events, I was the girl sitting cross-legged on the floor in the corner of the gym, doing homework while everyone else flirted and took selfies. I still remember the first time Angela made it clear she was embarrassed by me. It was a school talent show. She was in high school, I was in middle school. She was performing some dance routine with her friends, all in matching sparkly tops. I had begged our mom to let me come watch. I showed up in my favorite sweater, the one with tiny pixelated Space Invaders printed all over it, holding this huge graph paper notebook because I was working on a project. A game idea I was designing on paper. I didn't have a computer powerful enough to really build it, but it lived in my head and in my drawings. After the show, there was a little reception in the cafeteria. Parents, students, teachers. Angela was surrounded by her friends and some senior boys. I walked toward her, waving, excited. "Angie, you were amazing," I blurted. All her friends turned to look at me at the same time. I saw their eyes do that slow up and down thing. My glasses, my sweater, my notebook. Thanks, Beth," Angela said through a tight smile. Then she turned to her friends and said, joking, but not really, "This is my sister. She's like a genius or something. Don't mind the nerd costume." Everybody laughed. The boys, the girls, even one of our teachers chuckled. And then, under her breath, just loud enough for me to hear as I stood there, cheeks burning, she added, "Next time, maybe don't bring the math homework to my social life, okay?" That moment stuck like a splinter. It wasn't the last one. Fast forward a few years. Angela went on to do what everyone expected of her. She went to a good college, started dating guys who wore watches that cost more than my laptop, and slid naturally into this polished, upper-middle-class life. And me? I discovered code. I fell in love with it, not the glamorous founder-on-magazine covers version. The real thing, sitting in front of a screen at 2 a.m., drinking cold coffee, trying to fix a bug that makes no sense. I got a stable job in tech right after college, junior developer at a mid-sized company. Good salary, benefits. Everyone in my family was relieved. "There we go," my dad said, patting my shoulder. "You're finally doing something serious." But I couldn't stop thinking bigger. I was building someone else's dream. There was this idea growing in my head, actually a lot of ideas. The first time I quit my job to build my own app, my parents almost had a heart attack. "Betty, you just got this job," my mom said, eyes wide. "Why would you leave something stable?" "Because I can build something better," I said. "I have this idea for a learning app, and I really believe in it. I can freelance a bit on the side, I'll be fine." Spoiler, I was not fine. Startup #1 crashed in less than a year. My savings evaporated. I miscalculated everything. Marketing budget, sales cycles, how long it would take to raise money. I ended up taking on more and more freelance work just to pay rent. There was no time left to actually build the product. When the last of my savings disappeared, I crawled back into normal work. My dad shook his head. "You can't play around with your life like this forever, Betty." Angela just smirked. "Not everyone is meant to be a CEO," she said one night at dinner. "Some people are better off just working." I tried again. Startup #2 was more promising. On paper. I'd learned a lot. I kept my job part-time, tried to bootstrap the rest. This time it wasn't poor planning, it was bad timing. A bigger competitor launched something similar right when I was looking for early customers. They had funding, I had a landing page and hope. I watched my tiny email list unsubscribe. I watched my credit card bill grow. I remember sitting on the floor of my apartment one night, my back against the fridge, my laptop open on my knees, doing the math. If I paid rent, I couldn't pay the card. If I paid the card, I couldn't buy groceries. I chose rent and moved back to ramen and peanut butter. Startup #2 died. My parents had that quiet, exhausted look now, the one that says, "We love you, but we don't understand you, and we're tired." "Just stay at a job," Mom said, her voice softer this time. "Please, have a normal life. Get benefits. Take vacations. You're 26, Betty." Angela didn't bother hiding her amusement anymore. "Maybe she likes failing," she told my mother when she thought I wasn't listening. "Some people are addicted to chaos." Then came Startup #3. This one almost killed me. I went all in. I left my job completely. I sold my car. I broke my lease and moved back in with my parents to cut expenses. "You're 27, my dad said, looking at me like I'd announced I was joining a circus. "You're moving back into your old room." "I'll pay rent," I said quickly, as soon as— "Pay rent with what?" Angela cut in. She'd dropped by with her perfectly manicured nails and her shiny new handbag. "Ideas?" I ignored her. But the thing was, she wasn't entirely wrong. I ran out of money. Completely. Zero. I started counting loose coins from the bottom of bags to buy cheap instant noodles. Failure #3 left me sitting on my childhood bed, staring at cracked glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, wondering if Angela had been right all along. Maybe I was just playing pretend with my life. Around that time, Angela met him. Trevor. He was exactly the kind of guy Angela had always visualized on her vision boards. Tall, polished, expensive casual clothes, the kind of watch that doesn't have a logo you recognize, but you know it costs a lot. He worked in tech too, but in a very different way. He was a startup guy, involved in some platform, meetings with investors, lunches in glass buildings, that type. The first time I met him was at my parents' house for Sunday dinner. "Betty?" Angela called as they walked in. "This is Trevor. He's in tech too. Just, the grown-up version." I forced a smile and shook his hand. "Nice to meet you," I said. "So, what do you do exactly?" He launched into a smooth explanation about their platform, their seed round, their roadmap. My parents listened like he was reading the gospel. "He's so driven," my mom whispered later in the kitchen. "You could learn a thing or two from him." As if I hadn't been killing myself for years trying to build something. After that, everything about Angela became even more curated. Their couple photos looked like ads for luxury apartments. She voluntarily slid into this upper-middle-class aesthetic she'd always dreamed about. Rooftop bars, weekend trips, her Instagram full of pastel lattes and sunlit hotel rooms. And me? Still in my old bedroom, my laptop glowing at 3 a.m., trying one more time to fix something that wouldn't work. When they got engaged, my parents practically levitated with joy. "Your sister is getting married," my mom beamed. "Isn't it wonderful?" It was wonderful. Objectively. I hugged Angela, I congratulated her, I even helped my mom look at venues online. But every time Angela looked at me now, I could feel it. This mix of superiority and pity. Like she'd stepped into the adult world and I was a kid playing with Lego. The conversation about the wedding invitation happened on a Tuesday afternoon, in my parents' living room. I will never forget how casual it looked at first. Angela was there with this stack of cream-colored envelopes in her lap, laughing with my mom about seating charts and flower arrangements. My dad was on the couch with a beer, nodding like all of this was proof that life was turning out exactly how he'd hoped. I was on the armchair, barefoot, hair in a messy bun, my laptop open as usual. I remember thinking that maybe, for once, we were all just fine. Angela started handing out envelopes. One to Mom and Dad, one to my aunt and uncle, who had come by too. She even handed a smaller one to my little cousin with a flower girl assignment. Then she looked at me, and she skipped me. My brain honestly didn't catch it at first. I thought maybe I'd missed it. "Did you forget mine?" I asked, forcing a playful tone. "Or am I sitting at the kids' table and getting a special envelope later?" Angela pressed her lips together. My mom shifted, suddenly very interested in a spot on the coffee table. "Betty," Angela said slowly, "we need to talk about that." I felt this cold hand wrap around my spine. "About what?" I asked. She sighed, exactly the way she used to sigh when I'd show up at school events with my graph paper. "About inviting you," she said, "to the wedding." Something in the room changed. My aunt looked away. My dad took a long sip of his beer. "What do you mean about inviting me?" I asked, my voice dropping. "I'm your sister." Angela tilted her head like she was talking to a difficult client. "Betty, it's going to be a very elegant event," she said. "Trevor's family is, well, they're upper middle class, his dad's an investor, all his friends are very successful, and She glanced at my bare feet, at my old jeans, at the laptop with a cracked sticker half peeling off. "I don't want you to feel uncomfortable," she finished. "Uncomfortable?" I repeated. "Why would I feel uncomfortable?" "Because," she said, and her tone sharpened, "you don't have anything stable yet. You're living with Mom and Dad. You've, what, failed 3 startups? You don't even have a job right now, right?" Heat rose in my face. "I'm working," I said. "I'm building something. I'm between—" She cut me off with a laugh that felt like claws. "You're 27, Betty. Normal people at 27 have a career, or at least a plan that isn't, maybe this app will work this time. You keep quitting and starting, quitting and starting. You're not serious." My mom flinched. "Angela?" she began. "No, Mom," Angela said, eyes still on me. "We have to be honest. I'm ashamed of having a sister who can't get her life together. You show up in your thrift store dresses, talking about your ideas that never go anywhere, and I don't want people asking what you do and having to explain that my sister is trying to be a founder for the 3rd time." My throat closed up. "So, you're not inviting me because I'm poor?" I managed. She shrugged, unbothered. "Because you can't afford to dress appropriately. Because you can't afford a decent gift. Because you don't fit the life I'm stepping into, Betty. I'm marrying into a different circle." My dad finally spoke, but not the way I hoped. "Angela, maybe you could say it more kindly," he muttered. "But you have to admit, honey, you do need to stabilize yourself." I looked at him, stunned. "Dad, are you serious?" I asked. "You agree with this?" He avoided my eyes. "Your sister has worked very hard," he said. "We don't want anything to distract from her big day." I laughed. It came out wrong, sharp and shaky. "Distract? By existing?" I turned back to Angela. "You know why I don't have a stable job?" I said, my voice trembling. "Because every time I left a job, it was to build something bigger. I wasn't lazy, I wasn't partying, I was up all night coding, teaching myself new frameworks, applying to accelerators, pitching. I might have failed, but I tried." Angela rolled her eyes. "And what did that get you?" she asked. "Back in your childhood bedroom." Her words hit me like a slap. "So, no," she said. "You're not invited. I don't want to be embarrassed at my own wedding." For a second, I thought I'd pass out. The room blurred. I heard my aunt whisper, "Angela, that's too much." But nobody actually stopped her. "Nobody?" I said, looking around. "Nobody is going to say anything? Mom?" My mom's eyes filled with tears, but she wouldn't meet my gaze. "Maybe when you're more settled," she muttered. "It's just one day, Betty. Don't ruin it." I felt something inside me crack. Not loudly, more like a hairline fracture spreading through glass. "Okay," I said quietly. "Got it. Message received." I grabbed my laptop, went upstairs and cried into my old pillow like I was 16 again. I didn't go near the wedding venue. I didn't look at the photos when they flooded social media. I muted Angela's account and pretended it was just another Saturday. But I remembered every word. Here's the part of the story that doesn't fit nicely into a dramatic montage. What came next wasn't revenge. It wasn't a glow-up out of spite, at least not at first. It was just me and my laptop again. I couldn't sleep for days after the invitation conversation. When I did drift off, I'd wake up at 3 a.m., hearing her voice. "I'm ashamed to have a sister like you." I would lie there staring at the ceiling, my chest hurting. And then I started thinking about that word, ashamed. Angela was ashamed of having a sister who failed. But you know who never made me feel like that? The kids I'd taught coding to in a volunteer after-school program. The teenagers who'd stayed with me after class, asking how I learned JavaScript with a crappy old computer and no fancy courses. They didn't laugh at my failures. They asked me how I kept going. The idea that became my fourth attempt at a startup didn't arrive like lightning. It was more like all the little pieces of my life sliding together. Kids who wanted to learn tech but couldn't afford courses. Developers who wanted to mentor but didn't know how to find kids who needed help. Companies looking for a way to do something meaningful with their CSR budgets. What if there was a way to connect all of that? The app started as a simple idea on a whiteboard I made by taping printer paper to my wall. A platform that matched kids from low-income families with volunteer mentors in tech, plus a way for companies and wealthy individuals to fund devices, workshops, and scholarships. Not Uber but for X. Not some flashy metaverse nonsense. Just a bridge. I called it Bridge Bright. I didn't announce it to my family. I didn't post a single motivational quote. I just worked. Quietly. Bitterly, sometimes, but still worked. From the outside, it probably looked like nothing had changed. I was still in my childhood bedroom, still broke, still staring at my laptop too much. But inside, something had changed. For the first time, I wasn't building something just to prove that I could be a CEO. I was building something I could have used when I was that girl in glasses with a notebook full of ideas and no one taking me seriously. I started talking to nonprofits, to school counselors, to junior devs on Twitter who were bored of building the same corporate features and wanted to do something that mattered. That's how I met Daniel. He was a mid-level engineer at a huge tech company, bored out of his mind. He stumbled across a tiny thread where I was asking if anyone wanted to help with a mentorship platform. We hopped on a call, then another. Pretty soon he was spending nights and weekends building the back end with me. "Why are you doing this?" I asked him once, after we'd spent 3 hours debugging something stupid. He shrugged. "I'm tired of building features that help people buy more stuff they don't need," he said. "This actually feels like something." For the first time, I wasn't alone in my obsession. The turning point came in the form of an email, like these things often do. Subject line, Bridgebright, interesting concept. I had pitched our idea to a local angel investor network, fully expecting to be ignored like I'd been ignored 100 times before. Instead, this time, someone replied. We got a meeting, then another one, then a third one, where I walked into a glass-walled office in a borrowed blazer, hands shaking, feeling like an imposter all over again. "Tell me why this isn't just another feel-good app that nobody uses," the main investor said, leaning back in his leather chair. I could have rattled off the numbers, the market, the TAM, the whole deck. But something in me snapped. "Because I needed this when I was 12, I said instead. I was that kid who loved tech but had no access, no mentors, no one to say, "Hey, you're not weird, you're early." If someone had connected me at that age with what I'm trying to build now, I wouldn't have wasted so many years feeling like a joke in my own family. Silence. Then he smiled. Just a little. "Okay, Betty," he said. "Let's see what we can do." We didn't raise millions. Not yet. But we raised enough. A real seed round. Enough to move out of my parents' house, get a tiny office, pay a small team. Enough to not have zero in my bank account. When the money hit, my first instinct was to call my parents. Mom cried. Dad cleared his throat 3 times and said, "We always knew you were smart, kiddo." I pretended not to notice the always. Angela texted me a simple, "Congrats." I stared at that little emoji for a long time. No apology, no mention of what she'd said, just polite distance. With the funding, we could finally do what we dreamed about, a real in-person event. We decided to host a Christmas charity gala, not the stiff black tie kind, but something warm and loud, with kids and mentors actually meeting, with demo stations where they could try simple coding games, with a little stage where we'd highlight success stories. We partnered with a few local nonprofits who worked with low-income families. Investors loved it because it made them feel good and gave them photo ops. I loved it because it made the whole thing real. "We should make it big," Daniel said, eyes shining. "We invite mentors, families, partners, investors, local press. Let's show them what Bridgebright can do." So we did. We rented a decorated hall downtown, not fancy, but beautiful. Twinkling lights, a big Christmas tree in the corner, long tables with simple food. There would be kids running around, volunteers in matching t-shirts, a slideshow of photos from workshops we'd already run. "Make sure your family comes," Daniel said. "They should see this." I hesitated. "My cousins will definitely come," I said. "My parents too, I think." "And your sister?" he asked. I stared at the event spreadsheet. "I don't know," I said finally. "I'm not sure I want her there." But later, when I drafted the guest list, I invited my parents. I invited my cousins who always believed in me, who brought coffee when I was pulling all-nighters and told me my ideas were cool, even when they didn't fully understand them. I did not invite Angela or Trevor. I told myself it was just logical. She didn't want me at her perfect upper-middle-class wedding because I was poor and unstable. I didn't want her at my event because she measured my worth in money and image. Simple. Of course it wasn't simple. The call came 2 weeks before the event. I was sitting in the office, surrounded by half-opened boxes of printed banners and t-shirts, when my phone lit up with Angela's name. I almost let it go to voicemail. Then, against my better judgment, I answered. "Hey," I said cautiously. "Betty," she said in that bright voice she uses when she's about to ask for something. "Can you talk?" "Kind of in the middle of—" "I'll be quick," she cut in. "So, Mom just told me about your big charity event. Apparently it's a huge deal. Investors, press, everything. That's amazing." My heart sank. "Yeah," I said slowly. "It's important." "Right," she said. "So, funny thing. We haven't gotten our invitation yet. Did you forget to send it? I'm sure it's just an oversight. I already bought a dress, by the way. It's perfect. Very classy, but still festive. Trevor has a great blazer, too. And I think there may be some opportunities for him to meet people for business there. You know, potential investors or partners. We'll definitely come." She said it like it was already decided. Like my event was some networking mixer she could just plug her husband into. I closed my eyes. "I didn't forget," I said. Pause. "What?" she asked, her voice suddenly sharper. "What do you mean?" "I didn't forget," I repeated. "I didn't send you an invitation." Silence. Then she laughed like I'd made a bad joke. "Very funny. Seriously, just send it over. I need to plan my outfit." "I'm not inviting you, Angela," I said quietly. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Is this because of the wedding?" she demanded. God, Betty, are you still mad about that? I swallowed. "I was never just mad," I said. "You told me you were ashamed to have me as a sister. You said I was too poor to stand next to you. You made it very clear that in your world my worth is measured in money and stability. I'm not punishing you, I just don't want that energy at my event." She scoffed. "If my wedding was now," she said, "I'd invite you, obviously. You can afford a good dress now. You can give us a nice gift. You're finally presentable. You couldn't do that 6 months ago. I was protecting myself." Something inside me twisted. "So you admit it was about money," I said. "I admit you were a mess," she snapped. "And I had one day to make perfect. Look, Betty, you're overreacting. You've won now, okay? You got your company, your investors, your charity, whatever. You got what you wanted. Why are you still acting like a victim?" I felt anger rising, mixing with all the old hurt. "I'm not acting like a victim," I said. "I'm setting a boundary. There's a difference." She went quiet for a second. Then her voice changed. Colder, sharper. "You're making a huge mistake," she said. "Trevor's company is not doing great right now, okay? He's under a lot of pressure, and this event could be an opportunity for him to meet someone who can help. Potential investors will be there, right? You know that. You know we move in the same circles now. And you're telling me you're going to block your own brother-in-law from a chance to save his company because your feelings were hurt 6 months ago?" My stomach dropped. "His company is struggling?" I asked. "Yeah," she snapped. "But you wouldn't know that because you're too busy playing savior for poor kids to care what's happening in your family." That stung. "I do care," I said quietly. "But I'm not responsible for fixing Trevor's startup. And I'm not turning my event, which is for kids who have nothing, into your husband's business pitch night. That's not what this is for." "So that's it?" she asked, voice rising. "No invitation?" "That's it," I said. "I'm not inviting you. Not this time." There was a heavy silence on the line. I could hear her breathing. "You're going to regret this," she said finally. "You are ruining things, Betty. For Trevor, for me, for our future. All because you want to play the martyr." I closed my eyes. "No," I said. "I'm just done begging for a place at a table where I'm only welcome if my bank account is big enough." She hung up. I stared at my phone for a long time afterward. My hands were shaking. The messages came later that night. First from Angela, a long, furious text that started with, "I can't believe you're doing this to me," and escalated into full-on blame. She wrote that Trevor's company was in serious trouble, that they needed investors urgently, that he'd been counting on this event as a place to network, that I was being petty, childish, selfish, that I was ruining her life because I wouldn't give him a chance. She ended with, "You finally have something worth showing off, and instead of helping your family, you slam the door in our face. Don't come crying to me when you realize you've burned bridges you can't rebuild." I didn't respond. Then my parents called. "Betty," my mom said, "Angela is very upset." "I know," I said. "She told us what happened," my dad added. "About the invitation, or lack of invitation." "She didn't invite me to her wedding," I said. "Did she tell you that part? Or did we skip that chapter?" My mom sighed. "Yes, and that was wrong," she said quickly. "We agree. She said some ugly things she shouldn't have said. But this is your chance to be the bigger person. You've won, sweetie. You're in a good place now. Why not extend an olive branch?" "Because she only wants to come so Trevor can find investors," I said. She literally said that. "This event is about kids who don't have access to tech. It's not a pitch competition." My dad cleared his throat. "Your sisters," he said, like that explained everything. "At the end of the day, your family. Money comes and goes, relationships, that's what matters." I laughed bitterly. "Funny," I said. "Because 6 months ago, when your other daughter told me I wasn't welcome at her wedding because I was too poor, nobody gave me the 'your sister's' speech." He went quiet. "That was complicated," he muttered. "No," I said. "It was simple. She didn't want my poverty to stain her big day. Now she wants my success to save hers. And you're asking me to pretend that's love." My mom sniffled. "We just don't want you two to become strangers," she said. "We're getting older. We want peace between our girls." Peace. What a word. I pinched the bridge of my nose. "I'm not banning her from my life forever," I said. "I'm just not inviting her to this. I don't want to stand up on that stage, talk about how this project is about seeing people for more than their bank accounts, and then look over and see the person who measured my worth in exactly that way. I can't do it." They didn't like it. They tried again, gently, then less gently. In the end, my dad sighed. "Fine," he said. "It's your event. But don't say we didn't try to help you do the right thing." I hung up and sat there in the dark office, lights off, the glow of my laptop the only thing visible. I felt awful. like I was stabbing my own family in the back, like I was becoming the selfish one they'd always accused me of being. But under the guilt, there was something else, a thin, quiet thread of certainty. The night of the event, I stood just behind the curtain, looking out at the hall. It was full. Kids in slightly too big donated sweaters, their eyes wide as they watched volunteers show them simple code on donated tablets. Parents in worn coats clutching paper cups of hot chocolate. Mentors in jeans and hoodies arguing about JavaScript versus Python. A few people in suits, investors, local business owners, trying to look like they totally belonged there. My cousins waved when they saw me. My heart squeezed. They had always believed in me, even when they didn't fully understand what I was doing. My parents sat in the second row, dressed nicely. My mom kept wiping her eyes. My dad looked around, visibly impressed. Angela's seat, the one I imagined she would have occupied next to them, was empty. When it was time to speak, I walked up to the small stage, my legs feeling like they weren't quite attached to my body. Daniel handed me the mic. "Ready?" he whispered. "No," I said, "but here we go." I stepped up and faced them all. "Hi," I said, my voice echoing a bit. "I'm Betty, founder of Bridgebright. I was supposed to write some fancy, polished speech for tonight, but I decided to just tell you the truth." I paused. "I grew up loving tech," I said, "but I didn't have access to mentors or fancy courses or even much encouragement. I was just the weird kid in glasses who liked math too much. For a long time, I let other people define my worth by how normal my life looked. Stable job, nice car, predictable path." I glanced at my parents. My mom nodded through tears. "And I failed," I continued. "A lot. I tried to build 3 companies and all of them collapsed. I ended up back in my childhood bedroom broke, feeling like I'd wasted my 20s and disappointed everyone who loved me." Some investors shifted in their seats, surprised by my honesty. "But here's what I realized," I said. "Those failures weren't evidence that I was worthless. They were attempts, practice, proof that I was willing to look ridiculous for something I believed in." I looked at the rows of kids. "Some of you might feel like you don't belong in certain rooms," I said. "Like you're too poor, too weird, too different to stand beside people who look like they have it all. I want Bridgebright to be the place that tells you that's a lie. You belong in every room your talent and hard work can take you to, and we're here tonight, all of us, to build those rooms together." My voice shook on the last line. I wasn't just thinking about the kids. I was thinking about a wedding I never attended, about a sister who had said I didn't fit her world. People clapped. Some stood. The kids cheered because everyone else was cheering. I smiled, blinking away tears. After the speech, the night blurred into snapshots. A little girl tugging on my sleeve and saying, "Can I really learn to make a game?" A volunteer showing a shy boy how to change the color of a button in an app, and the boy whispering, "I did that?" An investor coming up to me and saying, "We should talk about your next round." My cousins hugging me so tight I could barely breathe. "You did it," one of them said into my hair. "We always knew you had this in you." Always. My parents approached slowly. My dad looked humbled. "This is big, kiddo," he said softly. "Bigger than anything I pictured when you said I want to build an app." My mom took my hands. "We're proud of you," she said. "I know we didn't always say it right. I know we doubted, but seeing these kids, you did something good. Really good." I swallowed, emotions clogging my throat. "Thank you," I said. "That means a lot." She hesitated. "I wish Angela were here to see it," she added. "Maybe one day." I looked at the empty seat again. "Maybe," I said. "If she ever wants to see me, not my bank account." When I got home that night, exhausted and wired, I found another message from Angela. Not angry this time, just cold. "I hope your event was everything you wanted. I still think you're being dramatic and selfish, but you're clearly set now, so congratulations. Don't worry. We'll figure things out without your help." No, sorry. No acknowledgement of what she'd done. just this passive-aggressive little stab. I sat on my bed, dress still on, makeup smudged, holding my phone. Part of me wanted to type out a long, emotional reply, to send screenshots of every email, every bug, every sleepless night, to scream, "Do you have any idea what it took to get here?" Another part of me just deflated. I put the phone down. I didn't answer. Because here's the thing nobody tells you in those motivational videos. Drawing a boundary doesn't feel triumphant. Not really. It feels like grief. I grieved the sister I wished I had, the one who would have shown up to my lowest moments with ice cream and quiet support instead of judgment. The one who would have sat in the front row at my event because she loved me, not because she saw an opportunity for her husband. I felt guilty. I did. I replayed the call in my head 100 times, wondering if I should have caved, if I should have let her come for the sake of family. But when I closed my eyes, I also replayed that living room scene from 6 months earlier. "You're not invited. I don't want to be embarrassed at my own wedding." She'd made her choice then. I made mine now. If you've made it this far, you might be expecting a neat ending. Maybe you want to hear that Angela called me crying and apologizing, that we hugged at Christmas, that Trevor found funding, that we're one big healed family now. That hasn't happened. Not yet, anyway. As of today, I haven't spoken to Angela beyond that last cold text. My parents keep gently telling me, "You're sisters. Life is short." Maybe they're right. Maybe in 10 years we'll look back at this and laugh at how dramatic we were. Or maybe we won't. What I know is this. For the first time in my life, I didn't beg for a seat at a table where my presence was conditional. I didn't twist myself into a shape that fit someone else's idea of success. I chose my values over their approval. I chose a room full of kids who have nothing, but everything inside them, over a room where I'm only acceptable if I'm rich enough, polished enough, convenient enough. Do I feel bad? Yes. Do I also feel stronger? Also yes. Maybe that's what growth actually feels like. Heartbreak and peace, mixed in the same breath. So if you're watching this because someone told you that you're too poor, too weird, too unstable, too whatever to stand next to them, remember this. Your worth is not a plus-minus balance on a bank statement. It's not how many times you failed. It's not whether your life looks stable enough to be Instagram-friendly. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who only love you when you're useful, even if those people share your last name. My name is Betty. I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding, and for the first time, I'm starting to understand that says more about her than it does about me.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and explore our channel for more love, betrayal, and redemption tales.